Now at 6, Capitol on lockdown.
Unfortunately, we have to plan for the worst, and we will.
From Washington, D.C. to right here in Ohio, officials are ramping up security ahead of threats of violence this weekend. How they're planning now. Also, rioter arrested. A former CMSD occupational therapist has been arraigned on federal charges for her part in last week's riot at the Capitol. We have the latest and what comes next in her case. Preparing plans. Counties are getting ready for the next phase in distributing the COVID-19 vaccine, the obstacles that may slow things down.
I just want to be me again.
Faces of COVID. The virus ravaged his body, how a Northeast Ohio fire chief is still recovering months after getting sick, and what he says kept him going.
From the WKYC studios, this is What Matters Most.
And good evening, I'm Russ Mitchell.
And I'm Laura Queso. She had been wanted by the FBI after a photo that appeared to show her inside the Capitol last week was circulating.
Tonight, Christine Priola has been taken into custody and has been charged with a number of federal charges. Will Ewick has been following the case and brings us the latest.
A former occupational therapist for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, Christine Priola, was arrested by the FBI this morning at her Willoughby home. This all comes after she resigned from CMSD last Thursday, one day after the Capitol riots, citing, among other things, her desire to switch career paths to focus on exposing pedophilia and not wanting to take a COVID-19 vaccine in order to return to in-person school. Then last Friday, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Willoughby PD searched Priola's house after an anonymous tip came in via Twitter, identifying her as someone photographed several times inside the Capitol, in which she was seen with a sign reading in part, "The children cry out for justice," and taking a picture of someone sitting in Vice President Pence's seat. The FBI took a laptop, 2 desktop computers, several thumb drives, clothing, a sign, and an iPhone from Priola's residence. Agents found the phone to be swept of data like photos, videos, and messages from January 4th through the 7th, but were able to recover some location data from January 6th, putting the phone on a Wi-Fi network just northeast of the U.S. Capitol. Priola made her initial appearance today in Cleveland federal court, but is being charged in Washington, D.C., facing a sentence of up to 2 years in prison and fines if found guilty. Priola was released on an unsecured or personal $20,000 bond this evening, which means she didn't have to put up any money. But, Russ, it's important to note that there are strings attached to that include home electronic monitoring, travel restrictions, as well as computer restrictions and monitoring as well.
Okay, Will Ewick, thank you.
Washington, D.C. is on edge tonight. The level of security higher than it's ever been, with more police and soldiers on the ground than after the 9/11 attacks, and more on the way to guard against what is a growing threat from within. Jay Gray is following this story and joins us live now with the very latest. Hi, Jay.
Hey there, Laura. The images are jarring, and on the ground, I can tell you the feeling is at times overwhelming for many. Throughout the day today, so many from this D.C. neighborhood have walked up, they've watched, they've taken pictures. Some say they're stunned, others say they're sad at that level of security. It's really unprecedented and stretches across downtown D.C. right now. A show of force intensifying right now in the nation's capital, a city already locked down ahead of next week's inauguration. Armed soldiers, police, and federal agents stationed across the district around the clock.
And it is incredibly shocking. These are scenes that you would normally expect to see in Cairo or Islamabad, certainly not in downtown Washington, D.C.
Threats and online chatter from violent right-wing extremists have been growing.
That was taped to my office door just a few minutes ago.
Along with concern after the deadly attack at the Capitol.
I have colleagues who are now traveling with armed escorts out of the fear for their safety. Many of us are altering our routines, working to get body armor.
More than 30 members of Congress are now demanding an investigation into why large groups were allowed to visit the Capitol in the days before the siege. Public tours have been suspended there for months because of COVID-19.
And we now know that those violent groups that attacked the Capitol complex had inside knowledge of the Capitol grounds.
We will find out who was involved and what happened.
As troops gear up to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yeah, and another issue for security teams is the National Mall. Of course, that's where normally thousands gather to watch the inauguration. It's empty right now, and Laura, likely will stay that way through the ceremony on Wednesday.
Jay, question for you. What do we know about how long troops will remain in place in Washington?
It's a good question, and one we've been asking as well. Look, we know that they're not going home on the 21st, the day after the inauguration. How long they'll be here, not real clear right now. They're going to stay as long as necessary, according to authorities here. Obviously, they are keeping their plan close to the vest, and you can understand why with what happened here just over a week ago.
All right, Jay Gray live for us tonight. Jay, thank you.
Governor DeWine said today he will mobilize the Ohio National Guard because of protests expected over the next few days. Columbus police and state troopers will join National Guard members outside the State House, and they'll also be placed in other areas of the city in case there's trouble. The State House will be closed Sunday through Wednesday as a precaution.
These are violent people, and their violence will not be tolerated in Ohio, and it will not be tolerated anywhere. Just as we respect and will protect peaceful protesters, we will also just as vigorously resist violence.
Fencing has already been put up around the State House as well. We are learning more this evening about when a Senate impeachment trial for President Trump may begin. The earliest would be Tuesday, but it's looking increasingly likely that it may not start until after the president's term ends. He leaves Wednesday at noon. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is one of a handful of Senate Republicans who say they will consider voting to convict. If all Democrats vote to convict, and at least one is not committed to that, it would take 17 Republican votes to seal the first impeachment conviction of an American president.
And just moments ago, President-elect Biden unveiled his new COVID-19 plan. That includes another round of stimulus checks. The plan includes $1,400 checks or direct deposits for most Americans. That's on top of the $600 payments that started going out last month. The deal, which is worth about $1.9 trillion, also extends a temporary boost in unemployment benefits. More on this on the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, of course, at 6:30. Well, next week, Ohioans 80 years of age and older will be able to start getting the coronavirus vaccine. On January 25th, Ohioans 75 and older are eligible, along with those with severe congenital, developmental, and early onset medical disorders. On February 1st, Ohioans ages 70 and older and employees of K-12 schools that are planning to remain or return to in-person or hybrid learning will be able to get the vaccine. But the governor said it's all going to happen slowly.
But we only have 100,000 for next week, and we know there's 425,000 approximately people 80 years of age or older. So we can do the math. It's going to take a while, but we want to get started. And frankly, we wanted to give our 80-year-olds who have the most risk, at least a week, get that week head start.
Local health departments and emergency management agencies are getting information out this week to notify residents about where to sign up to get vaccinated. All local health departments should also have this information on their website by tomorrow morning. Meantime, the Cleveland Clinic announced that on January 19th, it will start administering vaccines for those 80 and older by appointment only.
Health departments are gearing up for vaccination clinics, and hospitals and pharmacies are getting set as well. Cuyahoga County says it still has about 10,000 healthcare workers and first responders left in that first group to get through, so they won't start the second phase next week. Instead, they're depending on hospitals and pharmacies and other providers to help out.
What we're doing, working with the state, is creating an infrastructure of 1,700 providers across the state in neighborhoods all over Cuyahoga County, at pharmacies, at community health centers, at hospitals, through home health centers, places where people can go to get vaccine as it becomes available.
You are urged to contact your local health department by phone or perhaps going to their website to sign up for notifications, or contact your health provider or pharmacy to see when you might be able to get scheduled. Coming up tonight, faces of COVID, a months-long battle.
A Northeast Ohio fire chief details his illness, what kept him going, and how he's doing tonight. Also, hi, Jimmy.
Coming up in sports, boy, it's great to see Kevin Stefanski back at practice with the Browns. And is Kareem Hunt ready to run against the Chiefs this Sunday? Urban Meyer, real estate agent, he needs one in Jacksonville. Betsy.
Well, just about the time we get some really good weather going, it's going to be changing, and those changes arrive tomorrow. We'll go hour by hour for you straight ahead.
What Matters Most is sponsored by the Calvetta Brothers Floor Show. It's time to fall in love again with your home.
You've probably heard this a lot over the past few months. Not all heroes wear capes. From the beginning of this pandemic, we've watched those heroes, our frontline workers, step up.
That includes the Norton Fire Chief. He spent countless days leading his team while working directly with COVID patients. He tells me it's not just a job, it's his calling, his passion. But it's a job he has not been able to return to because, as he puts it, COVID attacked every part of his body but his heart. Chief Mike Schultz is another face of COVID. Fighting fires and leading his team. When others run away from the flames, Norton Fire Chief Mike Schultz runs towards them. There's a similarity between running into flames and running into homes of coronavirus victims. Heroes do this work. Heroes who know the consequences. Chief Schultz came to the conclusion early he'd eventually get the coronavirus. He was right.
Just want to be me again.
The chief first felt symptoms of that inevitable illness in November, but he didn't know just how bad it would get.
My wife found me in the bathroom slumped over the sink, and she said I really didn't even raise my head up. I just looked at her and said, "Please call 911, I'm dying."
His lungs on fire. He knew his respiratory drive was shutting down.
The weird part of it was I was kind of at peace with the fact that I knew I was going to die. I didn't have anything else left in me to fight with, so it was a very bizarre feeling because I'm definitely not a quitter.
The firefighters, his brothers who picked him up, kept him breathing until he got to the hospital. The chief had one thing on his mind.
Family. I have a new granddaughter that will be here in April. And I knew I wasn't going to get to see her.
And at some point, his body decided it was not going to give up, even with bilateral bacterial pneumonia. The chief understands the virus doesn't ravage everyone's body. He will never understand why it chose him.
Some people have a sore throat and a head cold for 4 or 5 days. The only organ in my body that it did not attack was my heart.
He's home, but still on the brutal journey that started November 22nd. He used to run up to 8 miles a day. Today, he can't take out his own trash. He uses an electric cart at the grocery store, too.
Showering, believe it or not, uses so much energy that I have to wait all day long, and I have to shower at nighttime because as soon as I shower, I have to go to bed.
12 other firefighters caught the virus. They all recovered. And they constantly call their chief with words of encouragement and offers of help.
It's my family. I have 32 brothers that I can't see. I just feel bad that they're doing this on their own. I should be there alongside them, helping out, and I can't do it. I want to go back. I really don't know where I go from here.
But what he does know is he has a new family member to meet very soon. A baby girl he once thought he'd never meet because of coronavirus.
What do you think when you know that you will meet your granddaughter?
I'm very happy about that. Very happy.
A hero, Chief Mike Schultz, an example of just how bad COVID can get. He's a face of COVID, and he's also a survivor. The chief's wife, also a first responder, caught COVID and ended up in the hospital. She came home Christmas Day. The chief also told me he wants to get back on his Harley. He dreams of that day with his wife. And while he has no idea when, I think we all have faith that he will get there. And actually, he just emailed me a little while ago saying that his Harley is headed to the shop. So that is motivation for him to get back on it one day, Russ.
Wow, much respect to the chief and his wife. I tell you, when it rains, it pours, but they're getting through this.
Exactly.
Laura, thanks so much for bringing us that story. It is now 6:16. Laura Queso, also welcome back. You've been away for a few days. It's good to see you.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Good to be back with the team.
You know what? It's still cloudy outside. I don't know if you noticed that or not. But there was a little bit of sun today, though.
I will say, I saw the sun today, Russ, and I'm holding on to that.
Betsy introduced us to all new kind of phrases when you were gone. We heard murky sunshine, obscure sunshine. Today we had actual sunshine, just a bit, though.
We got to see like legit blue sky sunshine, which is a huge deal. It was kind of quick, but we got to see it. And going forward, it looks like we're not going to get to see very much. So hopefully you were able to enjoy it today. Temperatures tonight going to be holding relatively steady for us. We're going to be in the upper 30s to around 40 through the overnight hours and to start the day tomorrow. That is a big key to the forecast because we still have a southerly breeze. That southeast wind is going to hold the temperatures up for us, and it is bringing the air northward because of an area of low pressure to the west of us. Quick check of the radar, nothing's showing up right now, but we do have the cloud cover. Even amongst a few breaks in that cloud cover, we're getting some peaks at the moon. But as you can see, the bigger picture shows that storm system is really spinning up to the west of us. They have all kinds of issues with blizzard warnings in portions of Iowa and winter storm warnings in Minnesota. They're expecting a lot of snow out of it. It's the central plains, the western plains, where the wind is going to be an issue, and they have those wind warnings up. The big key here is that this storm system is a game changer because of the stirring that it is doing in the atmosphere. It will literally begin to drag down colder air from up in Canada. That colder air, once it gets here, it's not going to be letting go anytime soon. So yesterday we made it to the 40s. Today we made it to the 40s. Tomorrow we are going to start at 40. Then temperatures fall and we don't make it out of the 30s for the foreseeable future. Here's your National Designer hour-by-hour forecast. And we do get some breaks in the overnight hours. But as you can see, right around 40 or so to start the day tomorrow. On the left side of the screen, you see that little rain-snow mix chance coming in. This is a lot still TBD as to if you will get rain and or snow, but we think that it's going to be a primarily rain-snow mix to snow as the day unfolds. That should really start to move into the area midday into early afternoon, and then by the evening hours, we're going to start to bring that colder air in, not only at the surface, but also aloft. That will change it over to snow. The interesting thing about the setup that we have going on as we get into Saturday is that we may see some sun peaks on Saturday, and then we're probably going to see all kinds of scattered showers. There you see them popping up in the afternoon. This is part and parcel with what's called an upper level low. It's cold air in the upper part of the atmosphere, and that really makes things a little unsettled. So here's your Union Home Mortgage outlook, and you can see the temperatures falling tomorrow. We've got scattered snow in Saturday's forecast. Snow showers are likely on Sunday. Monday we'll get a bit of a break, and then more of a mess coming our way Tuesday. Then as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, another change coming in. Russ, we could be looking at the possibility of a little freezing rain early in the day on Thursday as temperatures start to warm. Back to you.
Possibility. We like that word. Not definite. Possibility. Yeah. All good. All right, Betsy. Thanks.
Right.
Coming up, the Browns get their head coach back in person in Berea.
What Kevin Stefanski had to say about being in his basement for more than a week. That's next. And also, Sarah Schiffman is here with what's ahead at 7.
Hi, Laura. Well, here's what we're working on tonight for Front Row. Bitcoin has gone bananas during the pandemic, up more than 600% since 2019. But now some people are literally locked out of billions of those cryptocurrency dollars. We'll look at how it happened. And with more and more movies being released straight to your TV, we'll take a look at the future of blockbusters. Join Jimmy and me in the Front Row at 7.
This sports report is sponsored by the people-pleasing people at Serra Auto Park in Akron.
Hi, everybody. Here we go. The Browns getting set for the Kansas City Chiefs coming up on Sunday. But there was more good news on this day. Kevin Stefanski back on the job, back on the practice field with the Browns, off the COVID reserve list. He is thrilled to be there right now. He missed a lot. He really did. And he talked about that today.
On a professional level, just being around the team and being around the coaches and the players. And then, isolating from my family is no fun. I should mention that.
All right, Kareem Hunt, boy, is he ready to go. Remember, he started his NFL career with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then, of course, the off-the-field incident here in Cleveland, and the Chiefs cut him. But he is revved up and ready to go to play hard for the Browns to beat the Chiefs this Sunday.
Honestly, it's been a journey. I missed 8 games last year. I wasn't able to help, for this, Super Bowl run or anything like that. I was not available. So this year I wanted to make sure, do whatever I can to, help this team turn it around. And that's all I can do.
So here we go. More COVID news on the plus side. Wide receiver KhaDarel Hodge, who was out, of course, last week with COVID and on the reserve list. He was back at practice today. That will help in the overall wide receiver scheme. And, of course, he's a big contributor on special teams. Now, from Kansas City, an interesting story developing. Their terrific young running back, and that is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie out of LSU, and their top draft choice, and their leading rusher this year. A couple of weeks ago, he went out with a hip and an ankle injury. The ankle injury is what the problem is right now. It's a high ankle sprain. He practiced yesterday, but he didn't practice today, which could mean that there's been a setback, and you wonder if he'll be available to the Chiefs offense coming up on Sunday. That would be a big loss for them. Urban Meyer, it looks like he's coming to the NFL after all. Now, talks are heated up with the Jacksonville Jaguars to make him the new head coach of the Jaguars coming up soon. It could be tonight, it could be tomorrow. He is already not only in negotiations with the Jags, but putting together a coaching staff to be ready to go. If he is the coach, it's his first time in the NFL, and of course he'll have the top draft choice and land the quarterback Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson with a ton of cap space. It's a rebuilding project in Jacksonville, but the bar, as we say, was set very low. They only won 1 game this year. That's a check on early sports. See you on Front Row at 7. Here's Russ and Laura.
All right, Jimmy, thank you so much. Laura, you're back, and the Browns are in the playoffs. How does playoff fever in Cleveland feel to you?
I am so excited. I can feel it even as socially distanced as we are, Russ.
We are. Certainly we can feel it. All right, as Jimmy said, Jimmy and Sarah back in at 7 o'clock tonight for Front Row.
And the NBC Nightly News is just minutes away. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful night, everyone.